Tom.
And we are VIMTV, Velocities in Music, the best kept secret in music reviews. On our YouTube channel, Tom and I have been kicking out album reviews of varying quality for 3.5 years. Hopefully the quality's going up over time.
I'd like to hope so.
We're working towards it. We're working towards, better live takes, lots of energy, lots of passion, no editing, just getting out solid content. So we rarely, in our 650 plus music reviews that we've done, Tom, gotten to do very many debut albums. And I think the nature of that is because we typically only review albums that are by artists who have gotten some clout. We we try to stay away from local bands because then that opens up a Pandora's box of like who do you review and who do you not. And quite honestly, Velocities in Music isn't big enough to truly give anybody a big
We're just two dudes.
We're just two dudes. We just like to review music. That's what we do. This is our passion. But we always get excited when we get debut albums. Today, we're going to review a debut album for you from an artist called Pyyramids with 2 Ys, that really makes Tom happy.
Yeah, I love
the album is called Brightest Darkest Day. Chiaroscuro a little bit there, right? Consisting of a duo between Tim Nordwind, who is from the band OK Go, an indie rock kind of band that's been around. You guys might have heard of OK Go. And then Drea Smith, who is from an electro pop outfit called He Say She Say. I've actually never listened to that, so I really didn't have any preconceived notions, although I have listened to a little bit of OK Go. So, this album kind of caught me off guard. It's a different sound. They're going for, they're infusing some like 90s grunge and even a little bit of punk influences at times, but it's only at times. And then they're also doing like this, they're infusing it with like this modern kind of dark and moody electronica sound that they have going on. Is that accurate, Tom?
I'd say that's a good way to put it. They're really going for that blend of the organic, natural elements and instruments combined with the electronic elements. It's something that's very popular right now. We see it in artists like Gautier, Alt J, these kind of indie acts that are starting to blossom into the mainstream, and it's really the direction that the mainstream is going.
That's right.
I think this is pretty much in line with that kind of sound, but it's really where they take it in the songwriting and the mood from there, because there are some darker spots on this album, but I think Brightest Darkest Day is actually a good title.
It's a great title for it.
It's a good descriptor because there are some dark, moodier parts.
Usually in the verses.
Yeah, and then the choruses pick it up a little more. That's where you get a little bit more of the rock out, but you mentioned some grunge influence, and a lot of the songwriting brought me back to the 90s. I feel like this is some classic 90s style songwriting presented in just a modern 2013 context.
Drea Smith's vocals too add a lot to the mood because she has this voice that it's not your typical female vocal. It's almost like a lethargic Karen O from the Yeah Yeah Yeahs.
I would say Licky Lee a little bit.
Absolutely, and it really adds a lot of personality to it and kind of gives it this. It fits kind of, especially the moods that they're presenting in like the verse and stuff. The other thing I want to say about this album is they do a very good job. They're clearly solid songwriters, and they do a very good job of managing their dynamics. The choruses usually were like up here, and the verses they were able to pull down a bit. They do a lot of work with like pre-choruses and things like that to help vary it up. Although if I did have one major criticism of this album, Tito, I would say that they relied on the same structure far too much. I want to see more ideas in their sound, in their songwriting, and I just don't feel like they kept they just took their sound and shoved it into this like cake pan that was like, we're gonna bake this way, and then out comes this cake pan and it's this sound, and it's like, come on, just don't do the same thing over and over again. Think about what you're doing. Now it's a debut album, so that really to me is a minor criticism for a debut album, because as bands tend to age and gain experience, they experiment a little bit more. They have to inherently to stay relevant, unless you're, well, never mind, I'm not even going to go there.
Now I totally understand where you're coming from with that gripe about just kind of the repetition in the structures and things. Yeah, it is. But my gripes are a little bit different than that, but I think they all kind of come back to the same thing. Now, if there's two things that I would have to say is a little a little bothersome on this album. One, it's the fact that I don't think they were really any big blow me away tracks.
There weren't.
And I think that it was pretty consistently decent and good throughout.
Yeah.
It was an enjoyable listening experience for sure, but I really need at least one track, or the more the better, that gets stuck in my head, that make me want to come back to this album. The thing is that if anything made me want to come back to this album, it was more just the general sound and mood and style. But if I can't pinpoint any particular strength in the songwriting or a particular song that really made this album more strong, then it gets kind of knocked down a little bit. The other thing is I felt like there wasn't really much of a goal here. I feel like while they were trying to make a cohesive sound and just an album of songs, there didn't seem to be a very unified message. And I don't mean message as in concept. I mean just message in a very general, vague sense.
You mean warrant.
That is what I mean. And part of this, I noticed when I was listening to this on Spotify, and I saw that they had an EP come out before this that had a lot of the same, not a lot, but some of the songs from the album on there.
Pretty common for the first album.
It is pretty common for the first album. You release an EP, you take the songs that were well received from that EP, put them on an album with some other newer songs that you write. I think it's an interesting approach for a new artist that can really help them get into the scene a little better, but it never makes for a very engaging album because it means that these songs weren't written together to be together specifically. When you're kind of testing the waters like that and trying some different things out and repeating songs between releases, then naturally they're going to have more of a compilation feel than a really unified album feel.
That's a great point. And they did try to do some albumization. I mean, there's 2-minute-long intro tracks on this album, so they tried to separate it a bit.
And that worked, I think.
But it definitely does have still a bit of a compilation feel, so I see what you're saying. But still, I mean, the just relative sense of just optimistic anxiety that is just creeping through all of these tracks, especially in the verses. And then, that uplifting chorus or however, they added the intensity to the song. I felt it did make me like a lot of the tracks on this, just not love them.
Yeah, I agree.
So overall, this is a solid release. For a debut album, I think this is impressive because there's a lot of promise in this artist. I feel like Pyyramids could be great down the road in their second, maybe third album. So really excited to watch this watch this artist as they grow and progress.
Yeah.
Right now I'm at a 72.
I'm also at a 72.
72 is not a bad score. It means that the album's solid. It means that it's definitely something that if you have time, you should check out. Give it a listen or so. Just see how you receive it, and then give us a comment so we can start a musical discussion, which is what Tom and I live for. At www.velocitiesandmusic.com or youtube.com/velocitiesandmusic. Also follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook. We spend some time on there talking with you guys, getting album requests from you guys. You guys are a huge part of what we review here. I mean, your requests are what help determine Tom and I to how we pick the albums that we review each week. We do about 4 a week, and your guys' input is what makes that happen. So please leave us a comment. I'm Jake.
I'm Tom.
And we are VIMTV, moving music critique forward.